Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new day broadcast on Focus on Liberia, where we invite all of us to dialogue around social justice issues, emphasizing gender justice. A new day challenges societal attitudes and promotes a culture of respect and equality. We are seeking to create a just and equal world, focusing on eradicating systemic discrimination against underrepresented groups. My name is Priscilla Jene Mambella. Today, we'll be discussing the contributions of African American veterans to this country. This is crucial in honoring their legacy, resilience, and sacrifices. So we'll be talking about how they served in the US conflict since the Revolutionary War, you know, and they faced discrimination while demonstrating valor. Our guest today is going to go in detail, but he shared some stories with me in a book, very, very moving about personal stories of the level of discrimination this group of people face, but their determination to serve their country. The role of the Buffalo soldiers in the late 19th centuries and their impact on U.S. military expansion, African Americans in the Civil War, the role of the 54 Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, the Tuskegee Airmen in, I hope I'm saying it right, in World War II, and their influence on the military disintegration. The military was a catalyst for civil rights, or how civil rights movement was a catalyst, how both fed into each other for the advancement of inclusion today that we enjoy as a country. Particularly after President Truman executive order which ended segregation in the armed forces. How African American military service helped push for broader societal changes, like I'm saying, like the one we enjoy in this country today, that is beginning to seem like it's not even beginning to seem, but it seems like it's being rolled back. But we're going to be talking about all of those and much more. The role of African American in Vietnam, in the Gulf War, and modern conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan. Representation in leadership, the rise of African American high-ranking military positions. Um, yeah, so let's stay with us as we listen to Daryl walk us through uh these different periods, but with emphasis particularly on his personal journey. I think that will give us much more insight to relate to. But let me tell you a little bit about Daryl. So Daryl Alexander was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. He joined the Marine Corps shortly after high school in 1985, and there served over 20 years for service to include several combat tours. He retired with the rank of gunnery sergeant, and then his primary occupational specialty was legal administration. And then while serving in the Marine, he earned his associate in small business and later his bachelor's in business administration. So after retiring in 2005, he owned and operated three barbecue restaurants in Phoenix. I tell you, people, this man can cook. You want to try Dara taste? Just visit our offices, but you will have to bribe me in order for you to enter. But yeah, so Daryl reigned and operated three barbecue restaurants in Phoenix, and then later he finally settled in and joined the Department of Veteran Affairs as a veteran service officer. Now he continued that service with U.S. Vet Phoenix. He has two daughters who serve in the Air Force. I am so honored to have Daryl Alexander joining us today on a new day. Good morning, Daryl. Welcome to a new day.
Thank you. Thank you, Priscilla. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. And I know you have with you your service dog, Ziggy. I was just telling Dennis about Ziggy before we came on, because throughout the time Ziggy was going to school, and then through his graduation, yeah, he was frequenting our offices, and today he's a graduate and he's a service dog, well trained. I want Ziggy to say hi to the audience. Is Ziggy there?
Come here. Up, up.
Hi, Ziggy.
Say hi.
Hi. Hi, Ziggy.
Good boy.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us this morning, Ziggy.
He hears his name. Good boy.
Yeah.
Good boy.
I like that story that you usually share about him. You're like, when we go for walk, and then I want Ziggy to go in, and then I'm trying to entice him with the sweets, and he could just walk past me and be like, "She's just trying to get me in." That's funny. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm excited that you can join us today. So we are observing Black History Month. Tell us, what does, before we get to your story and your journey in the military. It sounds like an obvious question, but I still want us to talk about it, because after you black, I'm black. To be asking what does Black History Month mean to you may sound redundant to someone, but I still would like to chat about it a little. So tell me, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Well, thank you for asking that question, Priscilla. Black History Month to me means freedom. Black History Month means opportunity, equal opportunity, having the same equal rights across the country as everyone else. I mean, we all should be treated fairly. And so that's what it means to me, to be able to get up and have my own choice and decision to do what it is that I choose to do, and have that right. And so that's what it means to me. But it truly means to me just the freedom to be able to breathe the same air as everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, thank you. And I agree with you talking about the freedom to be able to breathe, the freedom to be able to do like any American, whether white American or Asian American, the freedom to breathe, the freedom to serve, the freedom to be, right? That's why when you talk about the freedom to breathe, the freedom to be, like, because when I was reading the book that you shared with me, it was so difficult to read, to be honest with you, for some of us who are overly, maybe because I get told I'm overly sensitive or an empath. So, but so it really was difficult for me to read about the mental and emotional toll of serving, and toll of serving while facing systemic inequality uh, at home and on a battlefield, and how veterans transition back into civilian life, and the challenges they face with employment, healthcare, and PTSD. And then, coupled with racial discrimination that really must have been hard. So to have Black History Month to be able to make visible those who are being erased, um, yeah, I think it means freedom to be able to visit to again to make visible those who have been overlooked in the history of this country when it comes to serving in the military. That means that signifies freedom. So I agree with you. Black History Month does mean freedom, and it should mean to all of us, because, like you, I shared that's what it means. Um, but yeah, so let's go into you're a veteran today, and I work with you, and it's an honor to be working with you. You're a great person. Honestly, that is the truth for me. My experience of working with you, where we work together, is really amazing. That's why I wanted you to come on a new day and talk to us. So, can you tell us about your journey in a military and what inspired you to serve?
Yes, I mean it dates back to as a young teenager. Again, thank you again, Priscilla. But dating back as a teenager, I can only remember my father being drafted to Vietnam, and also his brother being drafted to Vietnam. So there was two brothers that went and served in the army. And so as a young man, I looking for that direction. I was only influenced by what I saw, and what I saw was real men, and my father and my uncle. So as a young man, I just said, "Hey, that's what I want to do." But my father always said, "Well, if you're going to do that, be the best at it." And so I said, "Well, if I'm going to be the best at it, I need to join the Marines because you're in the Army. I want to be a part of the best fighting force." And so I joined the Marine Corps. I took JROTC in high school, so that prepared me. That prepared me to have the military concept, the military knowledge, so that once I joined the Marine Corps, I was more apt to the organization. It was much easier for me to ease into that because I was part of a military structure anyway. And so I joined. I joined in right out of high school. I graduated May 28th. I think I was gone June 9th. So I probably spent 3 days out of high school, and I was already in the military. That's is pretty much what I wanted to do. Uh, and so, when I got in the Marine Corps, and like most young men, I knew that I was going to do 20 plus years. Most young men don't have that long range vision, but I had that vision because I knew where I was coming from. I knew that we as African Americans that was coming from poverty, we didn't have the opportunity to go to college. We didn't have the funding to go to college. So the military was the way out for most of us in the South, being from Memphis. And so when I joined the Marine Corps, I knew that I'm gonna stay in this organization. I'm gonna be a part of this organization, and so I did. And so I stuck around and had a good time, but I also had some troubling experiences as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Is that's just how I think it's part of life. You have great times and you have the struggling times. But I think when it comes to race, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but from what I read, I know it's much more than struggling times. But just tell us in your own voice, what are the challenges? What challenges did you face as an African American or as a Black service person, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Thank you for that question, Priscilla. It's easy to be a part of an organization that have hidden racism. When I say hidden racism, that means that you have racism that you can't see it out in the public who is not being seen, but underneath there is. And the reason I say that is because of promotions. We didn't have the same promotion advantages. We would be twice as good as an African American, but we wouldn't have the positions. So they
Mhm,
wouldn't give you the positions, but you knew that it was you that were making the world a difference in the
mhm,
organization, but you never got the credit for it, right? And so we tried to stick together as best we could. We knew we were good. We knew we was the best, just like you mentioned earlier about this Tuskegee Airmen, the Mumford Point Marines. So we've always paved the way, but we just never had the opportunity to be out front and be in charge.
yeah, yeah. Were there any particular moments in your career that stand out as defining experiences
Yes,
for you
uh,
personally?
yes, absolutely. I can recall getting uh, nominated to go before a promotion board. And a promotion board is when you are a stellar Marine in your unit and you're put up for promotion, and then you're competing across the board with other Marines who are opposite your race. And so when you go before this board, you have a panel, and that panel is usually staff and soldiers within your command. And so they're all mostly white. And so you're looking at yourself and you studied and you studied and you studied hard, and you would go in and you looked at your competitors and you was like, they're trying to ask you questions. It's like you should have already been ready. And so you're ready and they're looking at you, you're sharp and you're ready to go in and present yourself. But at the end of that, they come back in. They said, bring everybody back in, and we're going to announce our winner who won this promotion board. Well, they come back in and they say, well, we went with so and so, so and so, but Alexander, you finished a strong second. And I continue to hear the strong second. You finished a strong second. Well, technically, I finished a strong first, but I
Yeah.
will always be told you finished a strong
Yes.
second.
What does that even mean?
That's what I used to say in my own, and then I would go out and I would go to my car and I would cry because I knew that I was much better prepared. I was really sharp, but that would be taken away from me, and it would be taken away from me in African Americans in a lot of situations. But we just always got knocked down every time we took two steps forward. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, thank you, Daryl, for sharing that. Yeah, thank you for being for agreeing to be vulnerable because I know there are just some. Again, it was really hard to read that thing that you gave me. I read it throughout yesterday. Let's go to historical and cultural contribution. I'll come to you. I see the work that you do at the US Vets where we work together, but let me come to broadly or generally, African Americans have a long history in the military. You already mentioned, or when I was introducing, I mentioned that. From your perspective, how has their role evolved over the decades?
Uh, African American role has, I mean, you can go date back as far as is again World War II. You can date back as far as Vietnam. Our role was significant, but as I stated earlier, we were only given specific jobs
Hmm.
during those scenarios. But guess what? Even with those jobs, we were the best at it.
Hmm.
And so in Vietnam, they were called box cutters, right? So you ask, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a box cutter. Well, box cutter was only those guys that was allowed to load, bring in supplies. We wasn't allowed to do top-notch specialty type jobs. You were going to be supply, and supply was just, again, box loaders. That's what we were. But our role was so significant, such as the Tuskegee Airmen, the Montford Point Marines. I mean, here you had a group of African Americans that was segregated in South Carolina, who couldn't even go into the same theater where you had all the blacks had to sit and watch the movie at topside, and all the white Marines watch the movie down below. So the conflicts of that was significant, especially the Montford Point Marines. They were, you ask yourself, why did blacks have to organize? Why did blacks have to get their own group to support one another? Because they had no other opportunities. They had no other chances. So so the role that we played, back to your question, was significant. It was significant during the wars today. It was significant during the wars then. And so again, I look at those guys like this, the Tuskegee Airmen. I've met three of them. As a matter of fact, one lives not too far from me in Australia Mountain, and I've met him. I've actually helped him to get service connected, believe it or not, a Tuskegee Airman. And I see him at the VA often. And so the roles that they played, like I say, were significant. I really Don't want to go too into detail of the role, but we know that we had the first African American astronaut. We had the first black aviator, the first black recruiters. Those guys played a significant role for us coming behind them to continue that legacy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I wanted to read something here from the book you gave me. They talk about it says despite the insults and the scrutiny they faced, they meaning black troops, the Black Troops Corps, as well as their white counterparts in combat training. Uh, they hunger to be Marines to fight their enemies, but they were put in ammunition or depot units instead. Even so, they distinguished themselves in virtually every major battle in the Pacific Theater from 1943 to 1945. Um, yeah, so people wanting to serve, and then there was one other place where this writer talk about John Baker. He talks about we have machetes, bayonets, to use in a jungle. So they have black people in this jungle, and they're on the island. They have bow constructors and wild bows, and those bows could come by you and take your leg off. So he said they walk in threes. These bow constructors could drop out of trees on you. We had to travel in three in case one drop on you, and the other guys will have their machetes to chop them off. Um, yeah, but this where the place they have black fighters with bow constructors in the jungles and gave them machetes and bayonets. Why? Um, you were the one that unloading the boxes and handing out guns to white Marines or to white military servicemen.
Mhm.
That was I mean I can't understand how all of you were supposed to be fighting one enemy, but then the fight was
You
within.
within absolutely, absolutely.
It,
It
it's
was it
it's
was
crazy.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but it was horrific because the the white Marines knew that the black Marines were much better fighters, much better leaders, but they never ever get was going to give the black Marines their due. It just was never going to happen because of the period of service, the period of time that it was just tough. But we had some of those veterans that came out of that situation, stayed around the Marine Corps, and they ended up making history. They ended up sticking around
Yeah.
to overcome that segregation. They overcame that segregation, and they ended up doing such as Sergeant Major Huffmaster
Exactly.
Johnson. You know,
That's where I was coming to. The question, my next question going to be, who are some of the unsung heroes of African American military history that more people should know about? So yeah.
yes, yeah. Certainly, Sergeant Major Huffmark Johnson, who actually had he had more stripes than any other enlisted Marine. He because he
Mm,
served so many years. I think he had like 35 years. But he just was a highly decorated, and there's so many of them that like I say, they withstood, they overcame and that situation and really made a significant difference to the Marine Corps.
yeah. Wow. Wow. And there was a situation where, and you know because this kind of system existed, so just like in a civilian life where and there are books history about that, even when if white Americans try to whitewash history, the records are there where black people or black person just used to get accused, which is still reflective of the kind of policing that is in the US, where as a black person you go in a store, you're being watched because you could be, you just consider a thief. So the culture of accusing a black person was just normalized by white people. So there was an instance that I read here where a white service person accused a black serviceman of whistling at a nurse, and then
Yes.
I thought that was, yeah, that part really. I like that part where the black people band there together and say, no, enough is enough. And then, everybody rose up, and because they knew what was going to be the result. If they are still silent, a white person just accused a black person, oh, he whistled at this nurse, and then they could either kill him or what was going to happen. But then the black Marines or the black servicemen all banded together and say, look, we're going to stand up to this. And in fact, they refused that day. There was a stand up to hand their arms because the black Marines or the black servicemen used to be the one that load the equipment and give it and hand it out to the white military men. But that incident, there was a stand up. They're like, we're not handing this out to you, and what is going to happen is going to happen. And I think after that, there was a turnaround.
Yes, yes. I would like to comment on that. Uh, blacks, we in the military always have stuck together.
Hmm.
So in the late 70s and early 80s, blacks was started to take control. And then
Hmm.
when I say take control, that means that the violence. That means that, okay, you have a white Marine that's kind of acting out of line or whatever. Blacks kind of rallied together, which it should never result to violence, but
Yeah,
we started to demand the
respect.
respect, and
Yeah.
that started to wake a lot of people up, where they knew that if they spoke out about racism, they were going to get beat. They were going to get beat down by a group of black Marines, because they Marines was like, if we're going to make it, if we're going to get, we got to stick together, and it resulted to that. And so it really got bad. It got to a point where you started having Marines getting killed, Marines that were, getting stabbed. You didn't hear about these things, but within the organization, there was a lot of violence.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I don't understand how they didn't even see that you were fighting a common enemy. At the end of the day, I mean, you're going to battlefield, you're all fighting for the United States, and then a white and a black should not mix or should not have each other back. I don't understand how the United States thought they could succeed in a war if them service people, could not have each other back. There was an instance where um this black man explained about this white soldier being pinned down. I think it was in Japan or Korea, and then he had to go in a line of fire to rescue this young white boy who was like around 19 or 20 or so, and then this black guy got hit, and he sustained injury from that. But he was like, at the end of the day, I didn't see him as a white boy. I saw him, as an American. I saw him as a fellow military service person, and we're fighting one enemy. Um, and those kind of stories, it was just amazing to read through those. How do you think the contributions of black soldiers have shaped the U.S. military today?
Uh, I think that from the top leadership in the military today
Hmm.
has removed those individuals that had those initiatives. So if you didn't want to abide by the Uniform Code of Military Justice and have the morale to fight as one, then the military was going to have a way of removing you. So again, they started to weave out, right? They started to weave out the bad, the bad apples per
Mm,
se. You were never going to get rid of the entirety, but you was able to weave out some of those bad apples. And when you go to certain schools, academies, and things like that, starting with recruit training, that's where it all started. It started in recruit training, building one team, small unit leadership, and that spreads out once you graduate from recruit training and it goes into the fleet, that you have a different mindset of working together. So today things have significantly changed. However, you still have the little pockets, the little hidden pockets of racism, but
mm,
it's not as broad today as it was back then. But I will say this: the opportunity is still behest at the white people that's in charge, that are not allowing. And I give you a case in point. That was a black general 3 years ago who has been waiting to get promoted, had done everything. Record was so astonishing, but they wouldn't promote him to a 4-star general. Finally, uh, 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 the Secretary of Defense, uh, Lauren Austin, got him promoted to general, 4-star general. But it took another black general to help get him promoted to 4-star general when he had already met all the qualifications to be promoted to general, but they weren't going to give him a 4-star.
mm.
But we've come a long ways. The military has come a long ways, but still so far to go.
So far to go, yeah. Frederick C. Bunch story was another interesting one for me. Frederick C. Bunch became the first black commissioned officer in Marine Corps history on November 10th, 1945. And when he started, he said, um, so when the Marine Corps was activated, this black man, when the Korean War broke out in 1950, he was sent to camp to command an anti-aircraft company. He said no one was more surprised than he was when he first reviewed his troops. I looked around and I had 80 men, all of them white, and he was going to have to make his men respect him because each time one of them looked into his dark face, he knew they wouldn't respect his rank. 75 of the men were from Texas. He had sergeants from Alabama, Louisiana, and Chicago, and on. And he put his men through weeks of vigorous drills and exercises. The company became one of the sharpest, most accomplished on the base, and Branch won respect. And then, like you said, after they went through all of that, one day after the war, I think everything, he was on his way to meet his wife. He said he passed one of the men who saluted him smartly. And he returned the gesture in a leisurely way, officers do. Then he returned to get something in his office. Once he reached the car, his wife told him that a second car had picked up the soldier he saluted. She had heard an older man in a second car say, "Hey, son, why are you doing saluting that nigger?" "That's my commanding officer," the young Marine answered proudly. His family had come in from taxi, and he had never told them his commanding officer was black until that day. I mean, it's like, but yeah, on and on and on when you read to, it's just chilling when you read to the point where he said, when the Marine landed at some place in 1950, he was among them. He was no longer people, somebody who put in. things in a box. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, he said America was going to war with an integrated force for the first time. I think that was in 1950 or so. Like, damn, y'all were fighting people and then y'all were divided. All right, let's come to President Truman's executive order. Well, how do you say it? Executive Order 9981? That was the one that was pivotal to racial integration in the military. Do you think the military has fully, anyway, you already said, you already responded. I was going to say, do you think they have fully embraced diversity or are there still barriers that must be addressed? I think we're still working on that, right?
Yeah, that's a good question, Priscilla, because even today, February, 16th, 2000, I mean, right now, today, we have this new administration who has a the new defense secretary talking about getting rid of the black generals, getting rid of generals. So today we still are having that battle to not allow, you know, generals, black generals, to serve, do diligently like every other general, right? And so we're having that same issue. No, we still have diversity in the military, and getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion includes not allowing the military to go out and recruit black officers, not being able to go out and recruit blacks to join the military for your best jobs, right? So it's always been that way to where top jobs in the military didn't go to blacks. It's the same way across the board, that you had to be extra good and be lucky enough to ease into one of those slots, because by virtue of all your experience and education and all the things you've done to accomplish that, it just wasn't enough. And you, again, just real quick, you have a four-star general that was the secretary of, with 35 years of service, that was Secretary of Defense, just got replaced with a white man who has zero experience to lead the Department of Defense.
Wow. You
Zero
know,
experience to lead the Department of Defense.
hmm,
In charge of 300, not only just 300 million employees, but all of military defense.
yeah.
That's scary.
It is, it is, it is. It's like we move one step forward and then we come two steps backward, you know.
Absolutely.
And I'm tempted to ask you, what are some of the ways African Americans, how can the military do better in addressing racial disparity in leadership roles? But the thing is, they already know. They from, we were doing that. We were getting to that point, They,
Absolutely.
yeah, and then we already destroying it to be asking that question. It's just like, yeah,
And remember, Priscilla, military for black men and women were a way for young African American black men and women to get a way out of poverty, to get
mm,
a way out of bad situations.
yeah,
So we always had those tough issues with going to college, getting the funding, and the whole nine. So you take the South, like Chicago, Alabama, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, all of those states, it was easier for a young black person to join the military because it was going to give them the opportunity, an
yeah.
opportunity to get a degree or go to college or get an education, get a skill set. And that's why they were joining the military.
So with what is happening now, Daryl, is there anything that comes to mind? Like, what advice will you give young African Americans considering a career in the military now? With all of this dismantling, of progress that we've made.
Yes. Military today has really shifted, especially with this new administration. So if I had a daughter today that said that I want to join the military, I would probably be thinking a little different. I would probably be saying, if you directly want to get an education, just an education alone, then let's go for it. But that would be the only reason. It wouldn't be primarily to say I want to serve my country, because serving your country now looks different, right?
Mm,
Serving your country means I may end up at the border, putting up a barbed wire fence.
mm,
Serving your country means I may be called to take down my own people in a protest. So
mm,
serving my country today is not like it would be I'm serving my country for the peace and keeping America safe from abroad,
yeah,
of, of foreign wars.
yeah. And you say, I mean, I read your bio, your two of your daughters served in the military. They served in the Air Force, right?
That's correct. Yes.
The both of them. Wow.
hmm and one of the reasons, again, it was for a young person that who had no sense of direction. I always felt the military was an organization that will give you a sense of direction. It not necessarily. I mean, it could teach you discipline. It could teach you self respect. It could teach you how to find your path to success.
Mm,
It will give you a lane to go down, right?
yeah.
And so again, today I'm not quite sure that that would probably be the best option today, with what the where the country is at today.
Um, all right. Thank you, Dara. If you're just joining us, we have 15, like how many minutes? Like 18 minutes, 17 minutes more to go. We're talking to Mr. Dara Alexander. He's a retired military person, and then Ziggy, his service dog, is hanging out with us. Hey Ziggy, I wish you could answer a few questions. Hi. All right, Dara. So let's come to. I know you're not an official spokesperson of US Vet, but if is it, are you okay with me just asking
Yes.
you to share with us what are some of the things you do, because I know you do great work at the US Vet. So, generally, you want to share with us some of what you do for veterans over there. I mean, you started at the VA and then now you are at the US Vet. So, what do you do for veterans now?
Okay. That's a good question, Priscilla. Thank you for asking that. I when I retired from the Marine Corps in 2005, I always said I wanted, if I was going to do something, I wanted to do something that involved giving back and
Oh,
paying.
before you, yes, sorry, before you answer that question, because I know this one will feed into it. Transitioning to civilian life, because that's why that's it has to do with
Okay.
what you do now. So transitioning to civilian life can be difficult for many veterans. What unique challenges do Black veterans face compared to others?
Okay. You know, there's a lot of challenges, and I would say the military has somewhat gotten better in this with this situation, because at some point when veterans was coming home from Vietnam and different wars, they wasn't received properly. They didn't come home and be welcomed back with an applaud or a hug. They came back and was spat on. They came back and were pretty much ashamed to the other parts of the country, which
I think
you,
it
you
had to do with the popular opinion. People didn't, Americans did not support that war in Vietnam. It had to do
absolutely.
with that than the race aspect, right? Generally.
Right, right. That's exactly right. They didn't give them the just due that they deserve. But turning the clock forward to today, the military veterans have had, since I joined, four conflicts. So when you're talking about veterans that have served in combat, served in a combat situation, those veterans come home. Some of them are broken. Some of them need to be healed. Some of them need to be seek medical attention. Some of them need health care. And so the military has done some work, but needs to do more work for our Black veterans because, again, you have a lot of veterans that are transitioning and not having the opportunity to walk right out into civilian and be welcomed, such as, hey, I'm going to help you find a job, or I'm going to help you to navigate to get your health squared away. And so that's why I decided for me that I wanted to get involved. Now, when the veteran gets out of the military, they rated certain things. And one of those things are service connection disabilities. Service connected disabilities are injuries, and we talk about combat situation or we're talking about Vietnam, but there are injuries that a veteran sustained during his military career that the VA owes that veteran compensation. And so when that veteran comes home and you think about Vietnam, you always think about the GI Bill. And that was a struggle for Black veterans just to be afforded the equal opportunity to get
Like
the
what?
GI Bill to go to college, right? They had to
Yeah.
fight for that. So finally they was awarded that and was afforded that opportunity to go to college using the GI Bill. So
Mm.
turning the clock forward to today, they rate those compensations. And that's where I come in at. When a veteran is leaving the military, my job is to say, if the military did not take care of you, did not help you to put a claim in for those monetary values or compensation, that's where I'm going to help you. And so I decided to pay it forward and get involved. I got hired with the Department of Veterans Affairs and got all the training necessary to help a veteran as far as back as World War II to make sure that that veteran gets compensated and what's owed to him and what's due to
How
him.
long did you work with the VA before you came over to us?
I was with the VA for 2 years, two,
Oh,
two, 2 years, and then I came over to U.S. Vets.
okay. All right.
And
So
and go ahead. I'm sorry, Priscilla.
now I'm gonna say, so what do you, yeah, what you do now is what I want you to tell us about.
Okay. And so again, as I was saying, when veterans get out of service, they are not always briefed on the things that they rate and value. And
Mm.
so that's where our organization and the Department of Veterans Affairs comes in at. As a veteran service officer, my goal is to say, hey, listen, soldier, airman, Marine, Coast Guard, did you sustain any injuries while you were in the military, such as traumatic brain injuries, such as PTSD, such as, you know, any broken bones, anything that happened, just like in the military, you belong to the government. Then the government has they have a duty to assist to take care of that veteran for anything that happened to you, whether bones or traumatic brain injury. And that's what I do. I navigate through that system to help them get the monetary values that are coming to them, that's owed to them, is actually due to them. Because a lot of veterans did not know about this. They did
They,
not know about compensation.
they
You see,
didn't.
this is another part of the history that even today, there's a Black group and organization that sued the VA because of discriminatory acts that they were giving more white service connected disabilities and compensation than they
Mm.
were our white counterparts. The
Mm.
black veterans and black female veterans that went to an examination, they were denied 70 times more than the white people for compensation. So it wasn't until 3 years ago that the VA got sued by this Black organization that started to turn the table to give Blacks the same opportunity as whites when it comes to compensation. So again, Every seems like every step of the way, there's been a roadblock that gets in the way of treating us fairly in the way we're supposed to be treated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we could just go on and on to talk about Black accomplishment, Black contribution, especially through the civil rights. Because even leaving the military, coming to civilian life, it had to take civil rights movement to make sure, even for us today, to be having this conversation, for someone like me, looking like me, sounding like me, to be able to work in this country and earn money. I mean, throughout history of this country, the Black people had to fight for
Yes.
us to be seen as humans. Now, audience, do you see why Black History Month is necessary to recognize, to discuss, to talk about the contribution of Black people in this country? um, Black people were lynched, Black people were killed, Black people, like, I don't understand when people say, well, why are they protesting? And then they, why I don't support violence. But I mean, when people be like, I have some of these white mentors who now we're not friends because then I went back and forth when George Floyd was killed on that, showing on black crime. I mean, yeah, black on black crimes to counter argue or justify uh, uh, or deflect when you're talking about systemic racism, you know, and they're like, yeah, but it should not be burning places. No, I don't support that. But my thing is, I get confused. They when they protesting, they kneel down. No, they should not be kneeling down. Or when they sit on the bus, no, they should not be sitting on the bus. I mean, when Martin Luther King led a march, oh no, they should not be marching. So, but Black people had to go through all of those things for us to get to where we are today and enjoy what we're enjoying. And we see now the rollback on all of these rights that people fought for over time. So yeah, in my own way, I celebrate Black History Month, and I pay homage to our Black ancestors and known and unknown, and Black heroes and heroines who fought in this country for us to have a little of what we're enjoying today. So we need to understand this history so that we can know what is being taken away from us, at what cost these things came and now they're being rolled back.
Ye-
Um, Go ahead, Daryl.
Yes. Yes, Priscilla, I would just like to say this. I would like to say our history has so much rich sustainability. We have so many distinguished scholars, so many distinguished people that have made a difference in our country. But I do believe that just we need to pay more attention to our history. We forget our history so fast. We move on and don't look back at that history. And it's so important today to know about that history. If you pay a close attention, they're trying to whitewash our history. They're trying to remove, don't want us to remember that history. But it's important that we acknowledge and that we understand, because we have to fight together, because we cannot fight by violence because we know what they're going to do to us. That's why Black people has never fought like that with violence. Dr. King didn't preach that. It was about nonviolence because he knew if we get violent, then it's going to be a lot of bloodshed. But I just think if I had to add to this month, I'm proud to have served in the Marine Corps. So I'm proud to have served my country, uh, and I'm proud to how far I've come. But I still today face racism. And I just know that when you walk into the grocery store and you're in the line, nobody knows what you've been through. Nobody knows where you've been. Nobody knows your history. So it's important that you continue to demonstrate as a Black person where we come from and how far we have to go.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Dara. Um, Quickly, the service connection. they are rated. I just want you to mention how they are rated. I know they're 10%, they're
Mhm.
20%. Can you quickly go over that, because I want to point out
Yes.
how you have helped people from 10% to 100%, and how it has transformed people's life. But first, tell us the different rates.
Okay. Okay. So the VA pays a veteran compensation based on a disability rating, and that disability rating is in increments of 10. So you can go from 10 to 20 to 30 up to 100. And so when you usually get 10%, it's for a lower mild disability, a lower mild to moderate disability, such as a musculoskeletal disability, a knee, you hurt your knee when you was in, or you hurt your ankle, and it's still causing problems to this day. That's how the VA is going to rate you. But when you get into things such as ischemic heart disease or diabetes, or you get into sleep apnea or traumatic brain injury or PTSD, those things are severe. So remember, I said moderate to severe. As
Mm,
severe, the severity of it is, the more likely you're going to get more evaluation or more rating. So, such as a back injury, we know that a back injury is huge. Without my back, it's hard for me to function. So the
mm,
VA can give you anywhere between 30 to 60 for your back. So that's
mm,
where those ratings comes in at. If you have, let's say, uh, traumatic brain injury, that you can get up to 100% for that, because that
mm,
deals with your brain. You
mm,
know, if your brain is not functioning, then you're not functioning. So the VA can give you up to anywhere between 80 to 100% for TBI. Okay,
yeah.
so that's kind of the scale. That's kind of how the VA rates its disabilities from 10 to 100. Uh, but again, like I say, modern to severe for disabilities.
Yeah. And people sometimes, veterans don't know, like Daryl mentioned, sometimes they don't even know how to present their case. So over the years, and one of our co-workers recently sent us a video through email for us to see the case where the lawyers that were being brought to book for exploiting veterans. So over the years, veterans have been going through lawyers. Some of them haven't been doing good work for these veterans, to be able to present a case to get benefit from the VA. But Daryl came in with his knowledge. Daryl had been able to help veterans. Some of them were at 10%, but the suffering, they have more injury that is military related. Some of them have been assigned in countries or zones where they have been poisoned, and all of those have effect on the blood or whatever it is. And this man was able to help veterans make their cases. Our organizations have had veterans from 10% going to 100%, and veterans having been receiving back pay. Um, without saying names, and there are, just tell us some of the back pay that a few veterans have received recently, last
Okay.
year.
Okay. Yeah. So to echo what Priscilla is saying, so when the veteran comes in, and or if a veteran is asking for assistance, sometimes veterans are anxious. Sometimes veterans are desperate for some money. They need help. So their quickest mindset says, get a lawyer. A lawyer is going to help you. But what's going to happen is that lawyer is going to charge you 20% of whatever you get. So if you get 20% and he's charging you 20 of that 20, you're
It's
going to owe
taking
him. He's taking all your money. So no veteran, just know this, no veteran should ever have to pay to get service connected compensation ever. If he chooses to do that, that's fine, but I advise not to do that. Now, some veterans that didn't know that they had an injury that could get them in upwards of 100%. Well, say they've been battling this disease, they've been out for 10 years and they've been battling it for that long period of time. They put a claim in back then. We go back with the evidence, because it's the evidence. If we can prove that this happened to them in the service, which is what I helped them do. We go get the facts, we get the information. If we can put that case, as I say, it's like going before a judge or going before a jury. If we can build that case and present that case back to the VA, and the VA says, hey, I made a mistake. It's called Q, clear and unmistakable error. The VA will come back and pay them upwards of 80,000, 100,000,
And
140.
that's why he's been helping veteran do.
Yeah, we just had one veteran get 80,000. Then another veteran that was in our program, she got 25,000 in back pay. So the VA was going to pay you if they deem and find the evidence to show that you got hurt while you was in the service.
Thank you, Dara. So, I mean, it's just a tip of the iceberg. I want us to end at 1 hour, so I don't want to hold him up. But Dara has been doing amazingly, helping veterans transform their lives. You know, people struggling after they serve this country don't even know what they're supposed to be getting, because sometimes they are not schooled the right way. You come into civilian life and then you're struggling, you don't know, you're dealing with PTSD and just different things. They don't know their way around, but Dara has been helping veterans to, yeah, to get the rightful. Again, most of them over the years they've been stolen from by lawyers, people who just want to take from them, you know, and not helping them properly. But he understands how it works, having served 20 years or plus, 22, or how long you serve. Uh,
23 years.
so yeah, he's been helping veterans in this economy. It really turns our veteran life around. So, but besides that, he's an amazing person to work with. Again, there's no time to go through all of the, you know, the benefits of working with Dara and the team. Our team is a great team. I like working with our team, and I like and Dara is a valuable member of the team, and just a great person to work with. And I get my treats and my snacks throughout the day. From him, from Brace coming to my office. Have you had your treats yet? Have you had your snacks? So Daryl is a great person. Thank you so much, Daryl, for taking this Sunday to talk with us on a new day. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Priscilla, for having me. It's been an honor.
Yeah, sure. Is there anything else that I didn't say? What is the one message you would like our audience to take away from this conversation?
The biggest message is that our veterans are heroes. Our veterans always recognize a veteran and say thank you for your service, thank you for what you've done for us. And last but least, as we always say, let's continue to fight. Let's keep the fight going, and let's continue to fight for our freedom and fight for our right. And let's keep moving forward. As they say in the Marine Corps, improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Thank you so much, Dara. So yeah, people, this is it. This is a new day. Today we talk in observance of Black History Month. We're talking about the unsung American people, heroes, heroines, how you call them, non-gender conforming, black, black people, people who have served this country, people who are contributing to the greatness of the United States of America, including us, all of us. It's a new day. It's a new day. Happy Black History Month, people. Thank you, Dara.
You're welcome. Thank you, Priscilla.
All right. Take care, sir.
All right. All right.
Bye bye.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira o. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira mi labira.